Okay, well, this is the one that you guys have all been kind of waiting for. I know I have. I've got the wraps completely done now. They're just going to be put aside and be awaiting reassembly. So let's take a look here. I'm going to go ahead and start the process of the tape removal. So we'll go ahead and get the Bestine, and we'll start loosening any of these pieces of tape. I think we're going to start with something isolated over here like this piece, and then we'll gradually, most of this is going, there's some right there, we'll do that, and we'll finish this inner piece on the cover. We also have tape on the outside, the full length here. There's Scotch tape here, and this looks like old tape residue from tape that was crystallized and it has fallen off. Okay, so let's start the tape removal process. Okay, so we have our syringe here and our Bestine. Go ahead and load this up. And we'll just start getting this wet, and we'll see what kind of results we get. This should go fairly quickly. Most of the Scotch tape I see on here is not that old. When I say not that old, probably in the last decade or so, somebody taped this book up. So it looks like it's just there to hold the pieces of the cover together. So if we end up with pieces coming off, we're going to set those aside, make sure they get cleaned properly, and let's see if I can get some this under here and maybe catch an edge. And then we'll make sure they go back in the right places, and we'll attach it properly with our favorite paper products. Okay, I think I got it with my fingernail. I got an edge, it looks like. So now I just keep putting this Bestine underneath this tape edge until we can get this adhesive to really let go. That's what we're after. And this one's being really stubborn, but it is going. So I can lift this tape up just a little bit here. I don't know if you can see what I'm doing here. Hopefully you can. This tape is coming. I just don't want to tear any of the paper. We want the adhesive to stay behind, and just this plastic carrier to come up. There we go. So that's the first piece. So we'll set that there. Now what we have here is this really sticky gum substance. And that is something that we'll have to address a little bit. And you've seen me scrape this before. So I'm using my trusty jeweler's goggles so I can see very closely and make sure that okay, my battery's dead. Make sure that I can properly see everything that I'm doing. Hopefully my head's not going to get in the way here. So once again, I'm going to use my favorite tool, the spatula, and we're going to get this wet some more and see if we can scrape some of this glue up. It looks like it's balling up pretty good. And as you know, I'm not too concerned about doing. I want to keep the damage to the cover to a minimum, but I definitely have to get this tape off. That is the whole must for this project. This is like a tape monster. So you can see how the Bestine is causing the gum to just kind of, I can't call it gum, that would be the wrong terminology, to ball up. See that giant wad of snot there is kind of what it's like. You know, you just have to kind of keep it wet and keep it moving. The Bestine does evaporate off, so hence that's why I have to keep it wet. And I just keep scraping it, but I'm being gentle. I'm not really applying any pressure to it. I know there is a big tear right there in the cover. That's probably what that tape was holding together. But the trick here is we got to get rid of all this adhesive. Okay, so now I'm going to grab a paper towel here and just give it a quick swipe. I'm going to swipe. I know the tear is a split in the cover, so we're going to just kind of swipe it that way. I'll pick up the gum booger. And like I said, this is all going to evaporate off. So in doing that, you can see some of the adhesive, it was already starting to eat into the paper. That's where you see this kind of a white spot here. There's not much we can do about that, but you know, I'm letting this evaporate off a bit. So when we touch this, there's no more adhesive here. It's all gone. So I'll let it evaporate and it'll get a shiny spot where the adhesive used to be, or if there's any leftover adhesive. But right now it looks like, let me lift this edge up of the book. And so this is what it was holding together, this tear in the cover. You know, I applaud the person that did it, but all this tape has to go. Okay, so we're going to work, there's a piece here and a piece here. We can start, get this one soaked up first, and then we'll come back here and we'll work on this edge. This one looks like it actually is holding a piece of the cover in place, so I think we'll keep an eye on that piece and we'll save it, if that is indeed the case. So I'm doing my best to keep my fat head out of your camera view. I'll zoom. Now I've got it set up so we can both see, hopefully. I'm going to peel this back, and I have the pieces over here that were loose. All the tape was removed. So I'm going to do my best to keep my head out of the way and place these pieces. So we're going to use the tweezers here. And turn all these pieces over so we can see them. I think I have most of all the pieces that came off, which is good. So let's go ahead and start trying to align some of these things. That way we know when we're going to tape, we're going to use the Japanese paper from the back side, and we want to get all the pieces aligned as best we can, and then I will put the the Hollytex back down over the top of this. And then we'll do alignment from the back side. I want to make sure we get all the correct pieces in all the correct places. At least the pieces that we do have. That's the one I was looking for. I got floated under. So I'm very carefully going to pick this piece up. There we go. This is the one I knew I had like 6 pieces. So this one goes right here. So we have almost all of the book cover included, except for the pieces that were unfortunately trimmed away or fell off during its lifetime, after the tape oxidized. Okay, and this is the only section that I do not have. It did not mysteriously appear, unfortunately. So this one, we'll leave this one loose, I think. Well, I apologize, but my microphone somehow disconnected from the camera. So I am going to overdub and narrate going forward. So what we've got going on here is a matter of placing the little teeny pieces in the proper places. Now, this cover and the pieces did go through the blue light chambers separately, well, together, but they weren't assembled. And the reason for that is I needed them to have the same exposure rate in the whitening process as the main book and wrap. So the little pieces were set aside, and they were given a blue light treatment from above and below, so everything is equal. Now, fitting the pieces in is very meticulous. I did my best to find everything and align it. Most of it aligned fairly well. There was a section right there in the middle that the pieces, it's just been gone for probably years. And of course, the top of the book, that was held on with tape, and that's long gone too. So whatever we can't fill in with the original pieces and glue back in place properly, we're going to backfill with Tengu-jo paper, and it will show through, but we do it as very minimalistic as possible. Now here I spray the water onto the sheet, and that's to keep everything in place right now. So I'll go ahead and peel back the Hollytex, and this will, hopefully all the pieces will stay in place, because looking at it from the back side, it's very difficult to align everything, especially if it's involved with a picture, but we do our best here. It worked out okay in the end. Working down on the bottom of the cover, I want to reinforce everything, so I want to make sure we get all of these little pieces in place. And yes, it is like assembling a puzzle. Everything seems to be going together very well. With the cover wrap being damp, it is a little bit transparent, which also assists in lining everything up. Because once I get all the pieces laid out in the correct positions, we're going to take one long thin strip of Tengu-jo paper and lay it down over the top, and hopefully everything glues in place just the way it should. And I apologize for getting my head in the way every once in a while. I use jeweler's goggles, and if you're not familiar, go ahead and look them up. They are quite handy at working with these little teeny pieces, in making sure everything's aligned up. That and the fact that, I don't see like I used to. But I apologize for my head bobbing in and out of there. Now, as you saw in the previous chapter, uh, when we rebonded the damage to that inner wrap, in this particular case, instead of using the brown Tengu-jo paper, we're switching to white because the whitening process that the cover went through in the blue light chamber, it was just more appropriate to use the white. So what we're going to do is, rather than do one big long strip, we're going to do this in pieces. However, when tearing the strip, I want to do it in such a way that we don't cover any of the black print on the inner cover. The white Tengu-jo paper, especially with the wheat paste, it will get to a stark white. And when that happens, you can really see it over the black ink that's printed on the inside of the cover. So again, we're just going to go ahead and tear the feathers, as I like to call it, to the edges, and we'll lay that down. Now, I have the strip torn as I like it, so it should sit right on top of this lower strip. So we're just going to brush on a very light coat of the wheat paste, just to help it stick a little bit better. Now again, I like my wheat paste because it, to me, bonds a little bit stronger than methyl cellulose. However, methyl cellulose may leave a better look. So typically what I do is wheat paste for spine repair and methyl cellulose for a tear repair. Now, I used wheat paste on the tear repairs mainly because it was convenient and that's what I had available to me. Now, once we get this on a little bit, we'll go ahead and lay down our strip and then just press it in with the fingers. And same method we used last time. And then everything will get smashed out in the end. Now with this first strip laid down, we're going to go ahead and put a second strip right on top of it. Now this is strictly for reinforcing the spine, having a double layer here. Now this paper is a lightweight paper. It is 8 grams per yard, so 2 layers is fine. And if you're wondering about when it's dry, if it's going to be too stiff to be folded or turned into a spine, that's not the case. What will happen is prior to final pressing, the book will be completely rehumidified and it will be much more pliable, so we'll be able to fold it over and make a correct spine out of it. So what I'm doing here right now is I'm putting on a double layer. If you remember right, we discovered that the top edge was missing a huge section. And so what I'm doing is just putting some material on, and we're just going to go ahead and trim it to the shape of what it should be. And we did that to one of the pages, and it may not look right, but at least it'll hold the shape. And I think on this far edge right here, we lost probably close to 1/4 of an inch that either fell off or was trimmed. In my personal opinion, looking at the straight edge, I would say it's fairly certain that it was trimmed. So I put 2 layers on here, and being it's a cover, I think I'm going to go ahead and just build it up, and I think 4 layers would be great on this top edge. I don't want to get it on the hinge point right here. So we'll just start avoiding that, and I'll just build this out and then eventually work our way around the edge, and this whole side will get, a section. All right, now that we've got the top edge laid out here so we can work on it, a good section of it is missing, so I want to make sure we build up enough layers, and this first layer is the one that needs to be attached to the paper. The subsequent layers will be built up on top of that where the edge is. So structurally it'll be sound, but we don't want it to be super thick at the top of the cover. Now, like I said, this is just for fun. It's not like we're going to have this book graded or anything like that. This is strictly educational purposes. I get great energy and entertainment out of doing reclamation projects like this. I have to put this one amongst one of my favorites, actually. A lot of people aren't going to attempt it, and there's no reason to. Some of the things we've done in the video series so far is just, borders on the ridiculous with trying to remove the tape residue and stains and things like that. So, anyway, we're going to go ahead and build this up, layer everything out, and then we'll smooth everything down and proceed on to the next step. Now I want to get a little bit of extra here on this spine. The book is drying out quite a bit, so I want to make sure we keep everything wet so it flows well. We'll go ahead and put the Hollytex back down and see if we can smear and smooth some of these rough parts out. I built up 4 layers along this edge, and I have put 3 down here. I'm about ready to put the 4th layer on. So I'm move this up so you can see what I'm doing. I'm taking scoot this forward. So I've got this piece of paper. I'm just continuing to tear along the edges here. I know it's right at the bottom of the camera. But this is a good way to tear a straight edge, but we still have that torn, feathery results out that we're looking for. Okay, so this is what we're after. Pull this back just a little bit more, and this will, once this is dried, it still be maybe a little bit translucent, but for the most part it's going to be white. It's going to look very odd. I mean, it doesn't, necessarily belong. So we're going to go ahead and see what it looks like. We'll trim it up. We're going to give it the proper shape that the cover should be in. So, and after this, we're pretty much almost done. So I've sealed all the tears. We've built up the edge here on the side that was trimmed, and I really think this top edge was probably held together by the tape. But once the tape started oxidizing, it disintegrated and just came right off. So, and if you're wondering, no, the wheat paste does not like to stick to the Hollytex. So we're going to go ahead and put that down on top of it. We may need to come back and do a couple other things, but for the most part, the back side is done. I do have one piece of the wasp's hand that I need to address from the front side. So I'll do that, and then we're going to take this on to the drying process. And what I'm doing here is when I get it wet like this, I'm just smoothing out all of the glue so there's no little wheat paste bubbles that pop up. All right, and then I'll wet the whole thing, and then we'll smooth all these little air pockets out. And then into the drying process after that. Okay, so I'll come back and I'll have a dry cover, and we'll trim out all the excess and see what it looks like. And as always, if you like what you see here at the channel, please like and subscribe. I try to put out a video at least once a week that's supposed to be educational and to help you conserve your comics and make your collection last for years to come.